America, if you're watching on your computer, make sure you can get us on your local cable provider. Go to u2america.com, enter your zip code, and find out where you can find us locally. I'm Barry Nussbaum, filling in tonight for Dr. G. Welcome back to America Trends. So, sad news. Yet again, we are mourning the loss of life. 3 more police officers were shot and killed in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, on Sunday. The gunman killed 3 and wounded 3 other officers in the shootout. 1 more fighting for his life. Joining me from Tampa, one of my favorites, Pastor Aubrey Shines. Pastor Shines is the founder of Glory to God Ministries. Pastor Shines, good to have you back on the show with me. I loved our chat last week. I can't get enough of your good words.
You're very kind. You're very kind. Thanks so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Truly it is. You're a voice of sanity in the insanity that we're dealing with, Pastor. So let's start off. The shooter posted on social media that his religion was justice. Tell me, how can justice be the taking of innocent lives? What kind of church is that?
Well, it isn't. And what a lot of individuals are not aware of is that he was also actually part of the Nation of Islam, where Minister Louis Farrakhan is the pastor, quote, or the imam, or the spiritual leader of that particular sect. And I think one of the things, Barry, that really puzzled me and bothered me probably more than anything is when this president came out. This is the first time, by the way, he didn't try to push his agenda about gun control. But what he did do, I found it very disingenuous. I found it very disheartening. And that is that he began to ask for calm. But he never addressed the fact that, again, there are more white police officers that are being killed, that are actually killing or injuring those that are white than black. And if black lives really mattered, why is this same feckless president bringing in these same individuals with their false narrative into the White House? How can he ask for calm when he himself, as chief and commander, is not presenting that type of calm? Once again, he's asking us to look at our racist past without looking at the fact that this is not whites that are killing blacks, that these lives are being lost at just the rate is just so crazy. It's at the hands of other blacks. By the way, 94 to 96% of all blacks that are being killed, they're not being killed by police officers, not white people, but black people. That's the reality that we have to face.
You've made a couple good points. I want to touch on one, and then I want to circle back to the second. The gun lobby and the anti-gun lobby are fighting to death over these shootings. He used a rifle. It was an AR-15, I believe. What do you think we're going to see from the pro-gun people and the anti-gun people? I haven't seen much yet. What do you predict?
Well, I predict this. I think they're going to go down in flames, and that is not the NRA, those who I support, but people are waking up. Here's the reality. People like myself that own guns and own a lot of them, we believe in this whole idea of something called the Constitution, by the way. And those of us who understand history, again, you want to talk about blacks understanding that, had it not been for guns that blacks were able to own, even during the time of right after slavery, a lot of blacks would have never been able to protect themselves. This is part of the reason that they were. And you look at, Barry, the cities like Chicago, the one, by the way, I matriculated in college there, my friend. Here's the reality. Wherever the strictest gun laws are is where the criminals are doing, unfortunately, the most havoc. They find areas where there are, quote, gun-free zones to do their killing. Why? They understand that if people are armed, they are not going to have the success. And for, again, this president to continue to push a narrative that is a false narrative, he only has to do one thing, just one. Come out in public, and instead of taking a stance against police officers, how about take a stand against those that are creating the majority of the crimes in America, and that is black people? Let's address that. Let's be intellectually honest in addressing that. And I guarantee you, he would begin to foster a relationship then with the media. The media would then be forced to at least address what they themselves are afraid to address, and that is that the majority of people that are being murdered, they're not being murdered by whites, they're not being murdered by our great officers, they're being murdered by other blacks.
Well, you're touching on a really interesting point, Pastor. This, unlike the other police shootings that have been going on over this horrible summer and earlier in the spring, is an African American shooting at least one African American police officer. So this can't be about Black Lives Matter if it's a black man shooting a black man. And maybe is that why the president didn't weigh in on another Black Lives Matter support agenda speech and talked about let's be calm, because he happened to be shooting blacks and whites in blue?
Yeah, well, of course. This is boy, you hit it right there on the head. Of course he can't do it. And again, look at the narrative. The moment that you have a Muslim here in my great state of Florida that kills 40, 50 plus gay people in a club, he doesn't call it, Islam. What you hear is the Christians have created, right-wing Christians like myself, we've created this environment, and you can go down the list. When an abortion clinic is bombed, it's those right-wingers. Again, if you keep following the list, there's always a reason and who has done it. Now, isn't it interesting if you follow that same logic, would he then have to conclude that those who are shouting and screaming about police officers, how they should be killed, how they should be fried like bacon, and they should be wrapped up like bacon, wouldn't then the logic be, you know what, then maybe the Black Lives they are inspiring these crazy idiots to come out? Because remember, the reason that these individuals are protesting and shooting, and this is not my word, this is their words, they are tired of the slaughter of of blacks by these white police officers. What would happen if they found out that white officers actually are not killing as many blacks as they think? What would happen if they found out that white officers are killing white people, for God's sake?
Let me interject. We've got one quick answer for you, and I'm dying to hear your answer on this. One of the Fox News hosts, Shepard Smith, scolded Bobby Jindal, a fellow Southerner, for saying all lives matter. Jindal said all lives matter. Shepard Smith said that's derogatory to the Black Lives Matter. Real quick, who's right, who's wrong?
Jindal is right. Kudos to Jindal. And Shepard does not represent the views of people that live this every day.
Well, you know what? God bless you. Thank you again. I'm going to have you every time I can. I love what you have to say. Coming up,
thanks a lot.
We've got Dr. Gina on the floor of the Republican National Convention live. Can't wait.